So before Boston, you got to meet Eliud Kipchoge. You guys were both Olympic champions in Rio in 2016. And I saw there was an article on Olympics.com. They had you quoted as saying, he is, in my opinion, the greatest athlete in the world at anything. He's like the GOAT of GOATs. So why do you believe that?
I believe that for a number of reasons. Number one, what he has done in running is incredible. And I know the man who won in London nearly broke his record and could possibly be his successor. I don't think Kipchoge is done by any means. Obviously, he's talked about a possible retirement in the future, but he does want to win all six of the majors. And I believe that he can still do it and he's going to do it. And obviously the Olympics is something that's, very important for him. But I think just what he has done historically in running, what he did in Berlin is incredible, but I feel that he is the best of all time and he is the greatest athlete of all time because of who he is as a person and his humility and just how humble this person is. I've read several articles, stories about him, and he continues to live in Kenya. He trains in Kenya. He spends weeks training at a camp away from his family, and just the dedication that he has to his craft, the way that he speaks. He just seems I feel like he's a gentle giant. And I don't mean giant by how tall he is, but giant just because of what he represents. And he's so just serene, just so calm, so mellow. And this is a person who has accomplished what so many people dream of accomplishing in their athletic careers. His accolades are incredible. And I would think somebody like him could live in London, could live in Switzerland, could live in Austria, somewhere a little bit more lavish, but he continues to stay true to his roots in Kenya. And you just see that he's just a very humble person, and he just goes about doing his thing, and he says hello to everybody. In London, he passed out medals to some of the people who crossed the finish line. And those are just things that you just see that I just feel like not a lot of athletes continue to do at the peak of their careers. I saw also after Boston, he had just lost a race that so many people had pegged him to win. And the next day, he got off a bus to visit a running store and talk to people. The way he spoke after his defeat, he's like, well, this is like a bounced check. And in order for me to get it right, I just have to go in and write a new one, and hopefully it clears the next time. I deposit the check or whatever. And it was just such a great mentality. He wasn't, being immature about the fact that he lost. He was being completely open and honest of what happened that day. And so many people were like, oh my God, he lost. And he was like, well, okay, I'm human. I lost. I'm just going to go back to Kenya and I'm going to train, and I'm going to get better for the next one. And for me, those things make up, a great athlete. Obviously the success speaks for itself, but it's away from the running. It's away from everything else. It's just what that person represents, and it's what's between the ears, the brain, the mind that he has.
Yeah. Robert and I, we live in this track bubble where we cover the sport. So, we've seen Kipchoge win all these races over the years, but I'm always curious how well regarded these athletes are outside of our track bubble. So, like, before you got into running, were you aware of Kipchoge at all?
No, so my husband had talked about him before. And when I was playing tennis, and like a lot of professional athletes, I imagine, we're in our own little bubble. And in tennis, we know Federer, we know Rafael Nadal, we know all these amazing athletes in this sport. But when somebody talks about amazing athletes in another sport, like basketball, for example, I mean, I know LeBron James, I know Dwayne Wade, I know some of these people, but there are other great athletes in basketball that I don't know. And the same with football, the same in golf and things like that. So when I got into running, obviously it was a whole new world for me. And I started really, um, you know, knowing more of who's running and who is who. And obviously I have a lot more, to go and some of these, in knowing some of these incredible legends, but um, all of a sudden I started hearing more about Eliud and his story and what he had done. And I just got so invested in just who he was as an athlete. And then I got invested as who he was as a person and just kind of the things that he did, because I'm very philanthropic myself, and I'm very much about giving back. I'm very much about the the personal side and the human side, not just what you do in your sport. And I feel like I resonated with him on a lot of levels, even though, where I'm from, Puerto Rico is maybe a little bit more well off than places in Africa. I still care about giving back. I still care about connecting with my community. I'm still very much very close to my roots. And just the fact that he is as well, it was incredible.